So, RWBY Volume 8 has begun, and boy oh boy, with just the first chapter alone, there are already issues. If anything, Neo's facial expressions within this chapter was basically my own thoughts about basically everything that was going on. I mean, seriously, her facial expressions just sum all of it up. So, let's get into it and let's tear it apart. Hey, what is going on, everybody? How are you all doing today? I hope you all are having a wonderful and fantastic day today, and if not, hopefully you all will have a better tomorrow. RWBY Volume 8, Chapter 1, Divide, has finally released, and there's a lot to say about this, because, it goes to show that the writers have not learned anything. There's even a scene in this that really, really frustrates me. I mean, it's really annoying. Let's get into this. So the first scene, you see a woman that is washing floors. Now, who this is Cinder. So, reason why I say this is Cinder is because this is starting to open up her backstory, which I'll get into that in just a moment. But of course, it then pans away to Cinder and Neo, which it seems that this whole thought that's going through Cinder's mind is actually bothering her as she starts scratching on the chair that Neo's sitting in. And thing of it is that with Cinder, okay, looking at it, she is a poorly written character. She's very badly written. I mean, that's obvious. While I may like Cinder, I am not going to sit here and deny that she has been badly written. And for them to finally decide that, oh, hey, look, let's go ahead and jump into her backstory. Well, here's the thing about it. I don't think it's going to make a difference how people feel about her character. The time that I think would have been the best moment to actually have her backstory in would be Volume 6. I think that was the perfect time. She had just been beaten by Raven. And quite clearly, after she came back, when she was beaten, that I think would have been the perfect time to set up her backstory so people can understand it. I mean, even if it was just for a start and then they were to allude to her backstory more of it later, okay, fine. That would have been good. But considering they're waiting so long, I mean, it feels like it's kind of pointless. I mean, it's better than nothing. I mean, look at what they did to Adam. They just expect you to think that because characters make claims that he was an abuser, he was a bad guy whenever they don't even show his own backstory. They expect the brand to tell a story, which it really didn't. So, you have Cinder and you have Neo, and they fly up to the whale where Salem is residing. And think about it is that, one, why does the whale have a hangar bay? I don't understand why this whale has a hangar bay. That is, it's just so weird to me. I don't understand it. Really bizarre. So, Neo and Cinder walk in. Cinder then takes credit for the relic, which Neo isn't very happy about, which is completely and entirely understandable because, I don't know, Neo's the one who took the relic, but leave it to Cinder to try to make things up for her loss when it came to Raven. So, there's that. But, Neo, like I said, her facial expressions literally was how I felt when I was watching this whole entire episode. I'm not even kidding. And then, of course, Neo realizes one thing while she's there, that she is surrounded by a cult. And think of it is that when you look at Neo as a character, what is it that Neo has done? All right, she's just been a regular criminal, just going around and being alongside Roman Torchic while he was still alive, which, in my opinion, was like the best villain. But Neo, the life she lived was a criminal's life. It wasn't anything as hard as this cult here that she's now walked into. Her and Roman would just go around doing whatever he decided to do, which, guessing from everything would be theft. But obviously, Neo's never been around a cult-like group, and she then realizes that. But other thing is that Salem and Cinder refer to her as an asset, which she doesn't seem to like. Now, one thing that people have thought is that Neo is going to betray Cinder, which that could be likely, but it seems like Neo does actually care about what Cinder thinks of her. Now, this doesn't surprise me that Neo would care, or at least to some degree maybe, because she did work alongside Cinder at one point in time, which was back in Volume 3. So that's not really shocking to me that Neo would have some idea of caring about what Cinder thinks of her, I guess. But it's still a bit strange. Tyrion, of course, walks in. He starts making his remarks. saying that Neo being alongside Cinder might mean that she's going to be a failure. Of course, Cinder does retort back, stating that it was because of Watts and Tyrion that they got caught, and why Watts was actually captured. Tyrion states that that is actually just a sacrifice that needed to be made. And then, of course, Cinder goes on about how she was the one who got the relic, which, her and Neo did. So they did succeed in that. I mean, it's just your typical banter between them. It's pretty boring. It's really nothing to be impressed by. Then, of course, you have Mercury and Emerald who show up, and I gotta say, they did good on Mercury's design. I actually kind of like that design. On the other hand, Emerald's design looks terrible. I do not like his design. I like her original design way better than this. It's just, this does not match Emerald, in my opinion. Now, of course, I know they're going for like a winter look because they're in the Arctic, but this design just does not suit Emerald, in my opinion. And Hazel, I don't know what the hell they were thinking with Hazel. Like, were they trying to go for like a Freddy Krueger-esque body look, like in terms of those scars and everything? Because that, that just looks terrible. I mean, seriously, it is a terrible design. Both Emerald and Hazel got the shaft in terms of design. And then, when it comes to Cinder, so Cinder states to Salem that she's going to finish what she started. She's going to get the maiden powers from Penny so that they can get the Relic of Creation. And then, what does Salem do? Oh, right. No, don't go get them. Why? You see, Ruby and logic never works. Why is that? Because the writers are idiots. And this really proves it, because their objective is to get all the relics, right? Well, why does Salem not want her to get the relic? This is absolutely idiotic. And I mean, why the hell would anybody want that to happen? Why would anybody not want to go for the one thing that they're supposed to be going after? It is their goal to get the relics. And the only way to open the vault is to get Penny's maiden powers. So why would Salem not want to do that when she's actually after the Relic of Creation? It's absolutely idiotic. See, Logic and Ruby, like I said, it just does not work, and this volume is continuing to prove that. So then, of course, because Salem needs somebody to help her use the relic, she has to have Oscar. So she sends the Grim, which I'm going to talk more about this in a moment, because when we talk about the opening, I'll get to that. But Salem is going to send this Grim out to get Oscar, because, Ozpin's the one who knows how to use the relic. But here's the thing. Here's the big thing. If they have Salem sit around and do nothing again this volume, they have failed with their main villain. I'm not even kidding. What has she done throughout all of the series? Sat there and done nothing. So if they have her continue to sit there when she's actually present this time, where are the fightings going on? If she doesn't do anything, that means they fucked up with their villain. And that means that they have failed with their main villain, which will not surprise me, because it's Ruby. We know how they mess up, so I'm not going to be surprised if she sits there all volume. Wouldn't be surprised at all. Now, of course, you see this whole area, and within this area is where a bunch of Faunus are living. Now, this is called the Crater. But here's the thing about the Crater. Well, within the Crater, you have Oscar. Yeah, why is he here? That's my first question. Oscar, why are you here? He's supposed to be going after Salem, right? So they show us a scene where he eats from a bowl that is given to him by, what is it, a badger faunus? A possum faunus? Whatever he is. But he gets this bowl and he eats, and I'm thinking, who cares? But then conveniently, a ship shows up. And you'll never guess who's inside the ship. Oh, wait a minute. It's Ruby. No, seriously, I asked this question. How do you know where he was? He was up in Atlas last time they saw him. How do they know where he was? Like, what? What? How is it that they conveniently just find him right away? Like, what is this? This is just bad that they find him just on a whim. But oh, it gets better. So the Atlas military, they have cameras with drones looking around, right? Trying to see anybody that might be doing anything bad or, criminals. Yeah, Team Ruby, Team Orange, fugitives. Yeah, cameras don't pick them up at all. And then Oscar, here's the retcon. Oscar totally loses courage. to fight Salem, which was his whole entire goal. Are you kidding me? The last thing that happened in Volume 7, at the very end, they were going to have Oscar go and face off one-on-one against Salem, right? No, that's gone now. It's just completely thrown away. I'm not even kidding. Completely and entirely tossed out. This frustrates the hell out of me because they retcon the scene at the very end already, which I didn't even care for because I had no feeling for the end of the volume. I just did not care. That's how I felt. But now they're already retconning things at the beginning of the first chapter in Volume 8. We're already hitting retcons, people. This is how bad the writing is. This is how inconsistent it is. They can't even go back to the previous episode before this volume and keep up with it. I'm not even kidding. It's so bad. That's how inconsistent the writing is. Oh, and also, Blake and Yang are sitting right next to Jean. That's when you know you've hit rock bottom, when you're sitting next to Jean. Just saying. So then they do something that they should have done last volume, where Yang is actually questioning RWBY's leadership. Now, there was one time last volume that she was questioning RWBY, but she never talked about it again. Because what was important to Yang, the one thing that's always been important to her ever since they have just basically made Yang a terrible character. Well, that's Blake. So Blake was the only thing that was important to her. And so, of course, they continue to bicker because RWBY wants to go to Amidity to warn everybody of Salem and how she is finally an Atlas so that she can warn all of Remnant. But then Yang wants to help the people. Now, that one's a weird one. I'll get to that in just a moment. But thing of it is that here's how stupid this gets. This is how stupid this gets. RWBY thinks that by the groups separating, she thinks that by both sides separating, then that's going to divide them. Okay, that's stupid. And let me explain something. There's no consequence to the teams becoming two different teams to do an objective. Unlike what happened with Ironwood last volume, there was an actual clash of ideologies between Ironwood and RWBY, which led to the consequences of, while RWBY wanted to save Mantle, well, Ironwood, what did he want to do? He wanted to save Atlas. Thing of it was that it put Atlas at risk upon the decision that he would have made. That's where there was a risk. Between RWBY and Yang, oh man, splitting up the hive mind, what are we going to ever do? Oh my freaking god. RWBY's an idiot. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. They make everyone stupid. Jean and Oscar are the ones who try to state, hey, look, you can do both. We just split up the teams. It'll be fine. Also, with Yang, I just want to bring this up real fast. With Yang being the one to care about the citizens of Mantle, why wasn't Weiss the one that brought that up? Because she's actually from the country of Atlas. She actually lives there. It's where she was born and raised. You'd think if anybody cared about the citizens, you'd think it'd be Weiss. But apparently they made Yang just care when she didn't even care last volume at all. When all she cared about was Blake, chasing her Bella Booty. That's about it. I mean, seriously. And when it comes down to it, the thing of it is it's good to at least see the sisters fight each other. But the thing of it is that it's late. It's a little late to be doing that. And then Penny gets a call from Ironwood, which this is something that's interesting to me, is that how does Ironwood not know where she's at? You would think that within the scroll itself there would be like a locator to be able to find somebody. You would think that there would have been something on Penny to be able to find her. Guess not. Or Pietro disabled it. I don't know. But yeah, you would think that the military themselves, which that's what Penny was built for, was the military. You would think that they would have tabs on her, where she'd be at, like a locator to know where she's at. That includes her scroll as well. Guess not. Either that or Pietro just disabled all of it, I guess, because he's a master hacker. Convenience, of course. And then while they're talking to Ironwood, RWBY gets on the call. She walks over to the phone, takes it from Penny, and states that she's not going to give Penny back to Ironwood. Yeah, I thought that was a dumb move, because I'm like, now you kind of have an idea where she's at, and that would just mean that they're going to search even harder. Also, Blake was a voice of reason whenever RWBY was worried about the teams dividing and thinking that they were going to be divided. Blake, of all characters, was a voice of reason. Oh god, it's bad when Blake is a voice of reason. Oh, uh, please, anything to get me away from Team RWBY. I swear, it was agonizing. Ah, I mean, I'm not even kidding. This chapter was so boring that I zoned out like 3 times. That's how bad this was for me. Like 3 times while watching this. That's ugh. And then of course it jumps over to Clover, his corpse, and the Aesops, which it's pretty obvious that the Aesops are going to turn, and which leads me to my next point here with Ironwood. So while Ironwood was a character that completely and entirely carried the last volume, despite the fact the last volume is absolute trash, it's so damn awful. I never want to watch it again. If you gave me the option to watch the terrible trash Star Wars sequel trilogy or Volume 7, I'd watch all 3 of the terrible Star Wars sequel movies. That's how much I hate Volume 7. I feel like that sequel trilogy would be less torture than Volume 7. I'm not even kidding. That's how much I can't stand Volume 7. Now, think of it as that with Ironwood. So, of course, as we know, this volume takes place right after Volume 7. That's supposed to be the time placement of when it's supposed to take place from what they were stating about this volume. Now, thing of this is that Ironwood has changed drastically. And of course, you see these 2 individuals, which were the senators or whatever, characters that don't matter. I'm serious. They do not matter. Couldn't care less for either one of them. And thing of it is that one of them asked Ironwood about why he was actually committing martial law. Well, what does he do? Pulls a gun out and just shoots him. Right here is a character assassination, and I don't mean the senator because I couldn't care less about that character. I'm talking about Ironwood. See, this is the problem with the writers at RWBY. They don't believe in a moral gray area. It's either black or white. There is no in between, which that's not how it should work. There should be characters that should be morally gray. That's pretty much where Ironwood stood. I mean, in my opinion, I saw him as the good guy in the last volume because he was, like I said, doing the right thing. At least he was trying to. And now he doesn't even try to make an effort to reason with this guy. I'm not even kidding. That's how bad it was. And, of course, Winter sees this. Of course, the Aesops see this. And this is probably going to lead to them turning on him and just abandoning him outright, or Aesop's possibly fighting him. That's the way I see this potentially going. This is probably going to put doubt within Winter. And the thing of it is that, like I said, this is how you ruin a character within just a matter of moments. They did this on purpose, too. The reason why they did this is because the writers knew that Ironwood was such a loved character in the last volume, and they were wanting to make him a villain. And then, of course, this is what they did. They basically just assassinated his character right there on the spot. And I hate it. I hate what they did to Ironwood here. I mean, there was no reason for him to shoot this guy. But of course, leave it to Rooster Teeth to ruin the best character. I mean, seriously. They took Ironwood. They developed him last volume, which, like I said, he was like one of the only things I liked last volume. And then here they are. They ruined him. Because I think it was, they knew that people liked Ironwood because they were rooting for Ironwood. And then, boom. They do this. I mean, it sucks. It really sucks. It really frustrates me. I'm going to get into an overall thought at the end of this because I'm actually going to talk about the opening as well because some of you wanted me to talk about my thoughts on the opening. So, of course, the opening, I'm going to actually just kind of go by the animations rather than the song itself because I'm not particularly a fan of the song. So, of course, you see each character, RWBY, where she was looking at her mother's grave. You have Weiss, and there's supposed to be symbolism. Like RWBY, her symbolism was her cape. Weiss is apparently her breast. Apparently, that's Weiss's symbolism. Of course, you have Blake, and it's her blade, which, of course, you see Blake, and she was sitting on the rock like she was in her trailer, of course. And then, of course, Weiss's seemed like it was whenever she was training with Winter, is what it looked like. And then Yang, her symbolism is her hair, which is her out with Zwei. I don't, that's, I think, the only one that wasn't actually a moment from something. Because each one, RWBY's was volume 3, and then, of course, you have Weiss, which was her trailer in volume 5, and then Blake, which is her trailer back before volume 1. And then I think Ironwood had, like, one of the best moments where it shows him, and it's like the weight of Atlas on his shoulders. I thought that was really good. Then, you have where Weiss is now looking more confident, where Winter is looking more like she's down, like she is losing her confidence. I think that's supposed to be the symbolism there within the scene, which, I would say that's probably because of Ironwood shooting that senator. Just saying. I mean, And then, of course, Whitley and Willow. And think of it is that they need to do something with Whitley. They really do. And, if they don't do anything with him, like this volume, I don't see what they could possibly do with him going forward. I really just don't. Then, of course, there is like this game of chess basically between Salem and Ironwood, where Salem is starting to turn all the chess pieces into Grimm. So it's supposed to be like her army going after Ironwood and Atlas, as to where it shows Ironwood and his chess pieces are all disintegrating away. And that's supposed to symbolize that people that followed him are leaving him. They're abandoning him because of his decisions. And here's what I think is going to happen, and I hate saying this because I don't want to see this happen. I feel like they're going to kill Ironwood. I feel like they're just going to make him this irredeemable villain, and then they're just going to kill him. And I really don't want to see that, considering how well he was in the last volume. And now they're just going to make him, instead of this moral gray character, they're going to make him a villain, and I just can't stand to see that. Watts, of course, is supposed to be the complete foil to Pietro. How Watts is a hacker, and they kind of show that, and then they show Pietro. So comes down to, I guess, a war of hackers at this point between the two of them, which I'm going to get into, what I think about that in a moment. Then, of course, you see Clover's badge, which on his badge shows all of the Aesops, and it shows Harriet being angry, which is kind of odd, in my opinion. I don't know. There's kind of a weird scene there. And then the next scene that I just don't like in the opening at all is Crow. Okay, well, let's be real. He's not Crow. This is not Crow. This is not Crow. This is not Crow Bronwyn. But he is looking at Robin Hillary Clinton. And I'm serious. I cannot stand Robin Hill. I mean, seriously, she was nothing but an allegory for Hillary Clinton in the last volume, which is extremely obvious. And her character caused every issue. Like, she is the problem. And the next chapter, which I have seen it, and I will review it probably earlier in the week next week, if you all want me to. But she caused all the problems, and then she tries to state that it wasn't her. Absolutely frustrating. I cannot stand her. this this scene right here with Salem. Like, they tried to make Salem look intimidating, but it doesn't work. It literally just it doesn't work. It just looks so bad. It doesn't work at all. It looks terrible. Then, of course, there's this scene with banana-haired douchebag. Yep. Just kill his character off. He's useless. Get him out of here. I mean, that's all I have to say about John. I can't stand it. And then, of course, there's Lyra and Nora, which they're already having a conflict with so many other characters, and they're trying to, like, add forced drama is what it feels like. And what I think's going to happen, because it seems like they're foreshadowing somebody to die, if there's anyone that I think is going to probably die, and I hate saying this, I feel like they're going to kill off Ren. As much as he's been a bro, and he's been a great character, I hate that they're going to kill him, but I feel like they're going to kill him. I feel like that's exactly what they're going with this, and I'm going to hate that. I really am, and it's going to suck so bad to see him go. I mean, yeah, I do feel like they do need to kill protagonist characters because, they've only killed antagonists. They've never killed a protagonist since Pyrrha. Like, Pyrrha was the last protagonist they killed, and then they just let it go because they've been afraid to kill off characters. But if it kills off a character to develop someone, then do it, I mean, as long as it's not a disrespectful death, of course. But, there's also this with Nora. Like I said, I feel like Bryn's gonna die. I just feel like he is. And also in the scene, whenever she's spinning her hammer, if you pay close attention, you look to the right of the screen, you'll notice that her hammer, when it's swinging, goes through Penny's blades. I'm not even kidding. Like, look at that. It's going through Penny's blades. That is bad animation. That is a bad animation error right there. And this scene right here with Salem's forces, Ironwood's forces, and then, of course, you have Penny. What I think is going to happen is I think they're going to hack Penny, but I think it's a little late because they should have done that back in Volume 3, in my opinion. But I think they're going to hack Penny. I think she's going to become one of the biggest antagonists for them because she has the maiden powers. Of course, this scene with Cinder. This is basically just a ripoff from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. This is the scene in the second Stardust Crusaders opening with Dio, whenever Dio, is slowly walking, after time stops, because the time stops here and Cinder's the only one walking, right? And if you notice, Emerald, her necklace, right here, there must have been an issue with the model because her necklace is off if you look closely. I'm not even kidding, it's kind of humorous. But basically what this is going to signal is that Cinder is probably going to betray Salem, and then she's going to ask the Relic, something. And I think that's what's going to happen, though. I think she's going to betray Salem. And of course, you see the antagonists like Hazel and Tyrion. And then, of course, Mercury, who is like best boy. Well, now because Sun Wukong's gone. But, they have like all of them here. And I don't know if this is supposed to be a representation of people that are standing in the way of Cinder, although Mercury standing in the way wouldn't make sense because he's actually been someone who's worked alongside her, so I don't think that'd make any sense. But then, of course, it ends up with Salem. Now, that might just be them panning over to all the other antagonists that they probably didn't know where to put them, I guess. I mean, that's the best way I can put it. Then, of course, you have the scene with RWBY. She's standing there. She's looking at, Atlas. And thing of it is that you see it go from this red scene to the blue scene, and it's like, all the bad is gone and everything's good again. So I really hope that the antagonists win, because honestly, I've been tired of seeing the protagonist always win. I mean, they virtue signaled the victory last volume. I'm tired of it. And then, of course, after that, you see Team RWBY fall through the ground, which they then have a rip-off scene of Kingdom Hearts. Yeah, I'm not even kidding. They literally ripped this straight out of Kingdom Hearts. I mean, it's like a RWBY can't be its own original thing. Like, they just can't have its own original thing. They have to take it from something else. Like they have to take scenes or whatever from something else because they think it looks cool, and then they just implement it in. I mean, that's what it always seems to be. And then, of course, they're reaching for the relic, and the Grimm seem to get in the way. And then I think, and I don't want this to happen, but this goes back to what I was saying about Salem. I think the Grimm creature that you see, I think it's going to be the main antagonist of the volume. I don't think it's going to be Salem. As much as I hate to say that, and I would not want to see it, I think that's what's going to happen. And then I think another big antagonist is going to be Penny, because I feel like she's going to get hacked, and I feel like she is going to just oppose everybody. I think that that's what's going to happen next, because when you see the scene where she's colored in, and then you see her turn full red, I think that Penny is going to become an antagonist. I think that she is going to get hacked, and then I think that they're going to use her, and she's going to attack everybody. I mean, this is pretty much what I see coming here out of this. I think that, just in my predictions, I think Crow's going to die too, by the way. I think that's going to also be another thing that's going to probably happen. But, yeah, I mean, looking at it, overall, this chapter was boring. I mean, there was just so much exposition. It wasn't good, in my opinion. I just was bored. Like I said, I zoned out 3 times. 3 times. It could not keep my attention. That's how bad it was. I mean, I'm not even kidding. I just could not keep my attention on it the first time I watched it. I just zoned out 3 times. That's how boring it was to me. And, of course, we're already starting the volume with a retcon. If there's one thing RWBY's good at, is retconning everything. Because I'm telling you right now, at this point, everything's going to get retconned at some point or another. Because that's just what happens. So Ironwood is now a villain, and instead of him being morally gray, like he basically was last volume, he's now just a villain. And I don't like that. And I feel like they are not going to redeem him, and I feel like they're just going to try to kill him off. I feel like they're going to do that. Because, I mean, they did that with Adam. Adam went from this moral gray character to then just being straight up evil, and then they don't even give him a backstory, and they just kill him off. And that's the thing about Cinder as well. It's really just a little late, in my opinion, for Cinder's backstory. Of course, we've needed it this whole entire time. But I don't really think there's a way to save her character at this point. I just don't think there is that way. And that's the thing. I don't think it's going to make people care for Cinder. I just don't. Like I said, I do like Cinder's character, but she's been poorly written up to this point. I mean, very, very, very terribly written. And I don't think this backstory is going to be well written either. I have no faith in the writers. You know, they have shown their incompetence already with the retcons and what they did with Ironwood. I do not think they are going to write a good backstory for Cinder. And as for Salem, I bet Salem's not going to do a damn thing this whole entire volume, which is going to make the big bad boss villain character, the final boss, just be terrible, and they're going to fail on that too. I really feel like they are. As for the opening, I personally don't care for the song. I don't know. It's like the last two volumes, I just haven't cared much for the soundtrack. It just hasn't really been as good in a while, in my opinion. And I don't really care for this opening in terms of the song. In terms of animations, some were okay, then some were just bad. Like, I mean, Nora's hammer going right through his blades. Like, are you kidding me? Oh, or the animation error with Emerald's necklace. I mean, that could have been something with the model there that was a problem, but still, I mean, it's pretty bad. But overall, this chapter was boring, and I did not care for it. But anyways, I'll be back again on Tuesday. Let me know what you think about RWBY Volume 8, Chapter 1 down below. Hit the video with a like, and also be sure to share the video on social media, spread the word, and get it out there. It's greatly appreciated, and it really helps out the channel a lot. Also, be sure to follow me on Discord. We have a wonderful community there. Not only that, but it will keep you up to date on when the newest videos will be released, as well as any other upcoming events in the near future. So be sure to follow me on Discord. The link is in the description down below. But anyways, I hope you all have yourselves a wonderful and fantastic day today. And remember, if today was not a good day, tomorrow could always be better. Take care of yourselves and everyone around you, and have yourselves a good one out there, everybody.